We're also joined by Mr. Laoye Jaiyeola. Mr. Jaiyeola is chairman of Kainos Edge Consulting. He served as former CEO of the Nigeria Economic Summit Group, NESG, and has decades of experience in the finance sector across the CBN, FBN Quest Merchant Bank. He holds a BSc in economics and an MSc in banking and finance and business administration from Bangor University. A round of applause one more time. You had said that you were surprised that this has been mentioned so far through the day, but perhaps it's a matter of this being a rallying point, and this is what the national workshop is. At this point, I'd like to turn to you, Mr. Jaiyeola. I'm hoping that you can speak to us about how the failure of reforms has impacted public-private collaboration, whether in the past or even presently.
Well, thank you very much. And I'm not going to speak outside what the research is just done. The only thing is that, again, given what the research is done, to tell us where we need to focus. Because they did some work on the soft, they call it the soft end, and the hard one. You know, as a student of economics, they used to teach us perfect economics. And as I was leaving school, I went to one of my professors and I said, why are you teaching us perfect when the word is actually oligopoly? Why don't you should have taught us what we would deal with. My point is, having identified that, look, what we're facing in Nigeria today is a hard side. I think our focus should be really to deal with the outside. The reasons why reforms have failed in time past is that we recognize that the hard side that they have identified is what operates and what exists. But we pretend that that's not the issue. So once we stop pretending and we focus on what the main issues are, that's all. When I came up here, and the first thing he did was he looked at chapter 2 of the Constitution. That's the first thing he said. Anytime they ask me, sometimes I try to get out of problems. And they say, is government A doing well or going B? And I say, what does chapter 2 of our Constitution say? Once you evaluate yourself from that viewpoint, it's easy. And so, whether it is government now, government in the future, what all of us need to ask ourselves is that, are we fulfilling the oath? If I don't trust you, I won't follow you. I think we get to go to a point, if we look at those hard work, how do we make government a lot more trustworthy? How do we make government believable? You know, and you know, they do a lot of work, they struggle, they do everything, and yet people don't believe them. So what do we need to do? So deal with the hard stuff and begin to work on them more as they take the work forward. And I believe that this thing will be a lot easier.
Let me interrupt. Well, I guess I'm not interrupting any longer, but I do want to come back to it. I understand what you said, and from what you said we need to do with government, it's clear that that hasn't been done yet. How does it translate? How does it, when it impacts the private sector, what does it look like?
You see, there are a lot of fuel. They will get fuel, yeah. They will do it in Naira. And we, the citizenry, will feel the impact in reduced fuel prices, availability of prices. Look, when you see the impact, we know.
Right.
But you see, nobody acknowledged the work that government did. And they themselves didn't make a lot of noise about it. But that is the kind of thing that you do that results in that give result, and people feel and they clap for you.
Mr. Jaiyeola, we've been discussing reform in the cost of governance for years now. The Oronsai report continues to come back into conversation time and time again. Presently, it's being reviewed to implement it based on current realities. And the crux of it is that we will collapse some ministries into others, some departments and agencies into others, and yet every other day the National Assembly is passing a bill that establishes some new agency or the other. And with all due respect, very recently we've also had Ministry of Livestock Development, and this isn't to take away whether it is important or not, but we do have a new ministry on our hands. This counter messaging, right? How does it erode trust in government's drive towards reform?
I think the report, they identified different schools as one of the first initial schools, systemic, that focus on the core areas, and the other one that says, let's open it wide and create more and create more. That's why what Mrs. Oshika said, it's something that we probably need to look at it again. So I wonder the kind of mandate that the legislature, swore to, when they say we swore to do this thing and go, and whether it's different from what the ministers and executive are doing. And the reason why I say that, I'm going back to your question, but I'm trying to lay the background. So when you say we are too large, we should restructure, and you are struggling to still see how to do that restructure and downside, and somebody is saying go and create, it does still show that if you listen to what Obi said, is that we are all not singing from the same hymn book. Because if we as a nation have agreed to what is important, what is crucial to us, we wouldn't be able to do it. Honestly, and it's a backtrack. Each time I was in some other discussion yesterday, they were looking at cost of governance. And I know the federal executive had had to battle with labor to increase salary and all the what have you. And somebody said they went to the National Assembly to go and ask for additional money. And I said, where will the money come from? Would they do ways and means? And then my friends in the banking community said they want super tax. I said, where will the money come from? It does appear that we all are, we're trying to solve some problem, but we are running away from the main problem. And I'll identify two, whether I'll answer your question. What Ms. Abbas is going to talk about, how she used technology to make our work efficient. To what extent have we used technologies as efficient as it should be? To what extent have we said, the number of public servants is 8,000, but we want to make sure that we want to pay people very well. We'll leverage technology, but reduce the number of public servants to 2,000 and pay them very, very well. And make sure those two can do other work. Because when they say we will do it, other people will fight you. All because all of us are not singing together. And I tell you, the Minister of Finance is here, and I don't want to be talking, but I'll say something. He went to the World Bank, the last season, and talked about how refining fuel locally will solve a lot of our problem. It's part of the physical issues they have. And he said that. And all of us said yes. But right there, another ministry and ministers are making it difficult for things to work. Are we singing from the same page? Can you make your friend's work a lot easier? If you're all together. So for me, one of the things I've found out is that if you are creating and reducing and creating, what concerns us, Nigeria, is that we feel the impact of whatever it is we are doing. Section 2 of the Constitution. And it doesn't matter whether you have large or lot, it's the efficiency and how we benefit from it. And again, in their report, they point it out. So for me, I beg people, let's not overload public service. That is not where job creation is. Job creation is out there. When the Vision Development Agenda 2025 was done, right? Even the public service owned up and said, we can only provide 10% of the funding required. 90% of the funding will come from private sector. How are we ensuring that we are facilitating these people to do it? So once we know that government job is to facilitate, is to create the environment, is to enable, let those who are creating jobs create jobs. So they don't need to open all of those things. It's just that we almost sing in the same hymn book. And Obi said that, right? Is it holistic? What are the values we all espouse? What are the things we all agree to? And I think it's still fundamental to make reform enduring and more impactful. So I will sing. There will be people that would... Why shouldn't I fight for politicians, ministers, when people are talking, they are not doing well? I should be able to fight if it's something we all have agreed to, and we say, no, don't touch this. If somebody is saying the Minister of Information and Technology should not use ICT to leverage it, why shouldn't people carry placard and fight? So I think creating ministry and co is just, again, you need to educate them and say, Oga, you can create 10. To make work, you need to make those people bringing work very well.
Perhaps that will feature when the bills that are trying to create more agencies and commissions are being debated on the floor of whether the red chamber or the green chamber. But Mr. Jaiyeola, I still want to touch on your experience with the NESG, right? You've interacted with public stakeholders across the board in different forums that you have established, conversations such as this, some of which that you have also done. Perhaps you've got a history lesson for foundations such as the AIG Imokhuede Foundation who continue to engage, right? Speak to us about your engagement and whether you've actually seen impact. How has it changed government behavior and action? Just briefly.
Well, again, let me acknowledge the work that AIG Imokhuede Foundation is doing. In fact, when I came in and they're doing work, I just grabbed them, come and sit. So you chair the governance team of NESG. There are a number of things there. It's about how do we collaborate. My problem is simple about how do we make it effective. We've talked about data to drive. Data hasn't driven things. In fact, government is owned up and they said, if only we do 20% of what we all do in this, our public-private dialogue, if only we implement it, we won't be here. They've said it. In fact, we have it on record. So our experience has not been very, very good, and I will tell you. In fact, the NESG will be 30 years this year. And part of what we're trying to do is to review about how has our engagement engendered economic development and help achieve Chapter 2 of the Constitution. We do some work, and it's something that we'll collab and do it very well. Sadly, and please don't get me wrong, I'm not an advocate of military rule, but we tend to have done a lot better in the first 5 years of NESG than what we have done in the last 25 years. So we're saying maybe we need to rethink how democracy can bring about impact, dividend to the people. We need to sit down and rethink it. It's a major observation I've had. We're sitting down, we do that, sometimes not because the minister does not want to do it. He has some super, and I'll give you one example. We had just done 2025 development plan. We have just done it, elaborate. We brought in everybody, public, private, states, everybody, because we are dread why reforms don't work. And the next FEC meeting, they were approving projects outside the development plan. And the minister was not talking. So I asked him, I said, Honorable Minister, when are we going to start to implement this development plan? He said, so I put it in writing. So that it will not be that the minister, I think will say, those NESG people are making noise again. That will enable him to move it forward if he doesn't want to. So it's important that even within the group, sometimes we say they are doing their thing. I think one major important thing that we have to know is that how can it become our team? Unless it becomes our team, maybe we'll still be repeating. Sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Jaiyeola.